Welcome to the webinar, Britannica's New Look for Spring. Their new interface, Britannica Library, includes 3 levels: Children, Young Adult, and Reference Center. We'll begin here at gowild.net to access the new Britannica. The children's level is appropriate up to grade 5. The young adults, 6th through 8th grade, and Reference Center, high school and up. You'll find over 140,000 encyclopedia articles, plus images, downloadable videos, websites, primary source documents, an atlas, dictionary, and thesaurus, as well as full-text articles from EBSCO. We're going to start this morning here at Reference Center. On each page, you'll find a featured article. Here you'll see that on this day, and there's a Learn More link to find out more about whatever topic they're highlighting that day. Below that, you'll see popular searches, and each one of those you can click on. In the center, how-tos, articles on preparing book reviews, research papers, science reports. They also have a featured video. Below that, the daily news feed by New York Times, and selected and new revised articles. They're constantly updating and adding to this resource, about 1,200 per month. Right under the featured article, you'll see Discover Britannica. These are other ways that you can search through Britannica Library: article, media, biographies, atlas, countries, and the United States. And we'll look at each one of those as we move through Britannica Library this morning. But let's begin with the search. At the very top, you'll find a search box. Notice that it populates a recommended article list, so I can go straight to one of these items, or directly across from my search is a magnifying glass, and I can click on that and launch my search. There you'll find a page that gives you images and video, various articles fitting that search, as well as on the left-hand side, content type. Under content type, you'll see that you can go straight to the dictionary, look at web's best sites that they've selected, and notice to the right of that is a little camera, and if I hover over that, it will show you the first page of most of those websites. I can look at primary source and ebooks, and I can go straight into one of these ebooks, a Project Gutenberg. I can go back here and look at images, videos, as well as the year in review for my topic, which was Iceland. Well, let's go back to our articles and select the main one about Iceland. Once you're in the encyclopedia article, you'll see your full text of your article, as well as tabs for images, videos, and related content. We can scroll down through the various parts, or at the top on the left, you'll see that you have a table of contents. So I can click on a topic and jump straight to that section within my article. Also notice next to each section, there's an icon for the table of contents. If I click on that, it will bring up that table of contents, and now I can go to another section within my article. Notice that your maps and images are embedded within the article. The other feature that they have in Britannica Library is a dictionary. All I need to do is double click on a word, and it will pop up the definition. Notice too, excursion, that I can have the word pronounced for me, and there's a link to the full definition. Then you can just close that out and come back to your article. On the left-hand side, under our table of contents, there's also a country profile. Notice the expand link. If I click on that, it opens up more profile information about this country. Let's move to the next tab, Images and Videos. Here we've got a selection of images and you'll note video. To scroll through them, there's an arrow on the far right. And all we have to do to look at them is click on the image. Notice that there's a link to view a larger image, and it also tells you what other article these images appear in. If you're using that image, at the top you'll see that there's a citation tab. I click on that and it brings up my citation information. The other tab here at the top is called Related. This will link you to, as it states, related information for people, places, and things. It begins here at people and it's already brought up articles about that. And notice that we have additional pages at the bottom. I can click on places and then again it will bring up additional articles or things. You'll also see that they've brought the primary source ebook link as well as the web's best site, and I can go back to my search results for Iceland just by clicking on my magnifying glass if I wanted to go to selection of other articles. I just clicked on the title at the top to come out to my main page. In addition to the features we saw here in the main text area, in the top right there's a link called Research Tools and Materials. You'll notice that it brought the tabs for those research icons, as well as how to write a research paper, how to create presentation, and we'll look at one of those. Here's a full paper on how to write a research paper. But let's start with the Articles tab. Here we're presented with topics that we can narrow our search for articles. I'm going to select Arts and Literature, and now I'm presented with subtopics, or notice that it's already populated my article results list on the right hand side alphabetically. I'm going to select artistic genres. Again, a list is already begun over here on the right, and more subtopics so I can narrow my search. I'm going to select detective story. Whoops. And now I can select one of my items in my search results, and there's my information. I can also follow my breadcrumb trail back if I wanted to go back to the artistic genres, or all the way back to arts and literature, or back to my article subject options. I can go back to research tools and materials, or that link for biographies, which we'll look at in a second, was also a tab available to me when I have the article page up. The next one on the list is media. Here again we get our subject options. I can select one of those and again get my subtopics, and you'll see video and images for those topics. Well, let's go on to biographies. To select a biography, you click in the box and select an era. I'm going to select 1900 to the present. Then you can select Cultural National Association, and if you don't want to scroll through this long list, you can begin typing in the box. Then I'm going to stick to our theme and look at Icelander. Then you can select an activity. You can select gender. Be aware that the button at the bottom that I always want to click to be a start button is actually the clear all filters button and will erase your search. Notice that you don't need to do a start button, that the minute I populated these boxes for biography on the left, I have article results on the right. And let's look at one of those. Here's a biographical result. I can add to that, or I can use the X here and get rid of information, or I can use that clear all filters. Let's select one more. I'm going to do 1500 to 1899, and I could do more than one time period. Notice that I could select another one there. This time I'm going to select a known for, and let's just select cabinet making. And notice I have my list of results on the right hand side. Also under the research tools and materials, you'll find a world atlas. To use this atlas, I can click on a particular part of the world and just keep clicking, or I can type it in the search box and it brings up the country. Now I can get at the top, I can click on summary, profile, and related information and links. I can double click and keep getting closer and closer and zooming in on the areas of this country. Notice too that I can switch from the map to the satellite image. And as well as doing that, zoom in. I've got my little guy over here that I can bring in wherever it's blue, and I can drop in to Street View. So how fun if you were looking for a place in another country, you wanted to roam around Paris, you can use that atlas and drop clear down to Street View. And those were under our research tools and materials that you can find in the link in the top right, or if I go back to our main page, they're here under Discover Britannica. We have a couple of other items under that, but we'll look at in the different levels of our Britannica. So I'm going to click on Britannica Library now instead of Reference Center, which brings me back out here where I can pick a different level. I can also use the search box right out here on the main page. So for example, if I wanted to look for just a definition, I can type in a word on the left, select dictionary, and it'll bring me into my dictionary. Or I can come on into the main page. On Britannica Library Young Adults, we also have a feature article here at the top, Biography of the Day. They also have a section called Did You Know? And this will refresh every time I come out of this page and come back. They also have the popular searches that I can click on, the how-tos, how to write a research paper, do a report, etc. And they have a daily buzzword with a definition. You can hear how it's pronounced, and in the young adults version, how you use that word in a sentence. I'm going to begin on this one as well, doing a search, and I'm going to search Beatles. Notice my recommended article is Beatles, the British rock group. I'm going to select that. Once into our article, and this is true at each level, on the top right, you'll see that I have an icon so I can print, email, again get that citation information. I can translate it into 50 languages, increase or decrease the font size, and you'll also notice that I have reading level 1, 2, and 3, and that's the children, young adult, and the research center, which is the high school and up. What this allows someone to do is, for example, we're in the young adult and perhaps they really need a lower reading level. I can click on reading level 1. It's going to take me down to the more children's level of reading, but it's keeping me in the age-appropriate interface. And I'm going to go back to our reading level 2. The star up here with all those icons is a favorites. You can put things into a favorites folder, a My Britannica, My Content, and we'll look at that here. But first, let's look at all the other things on this page. So we have our article. Again, we can use the double click on a word to bring up the definition. And on the left, we can go to our images and videos and our related content. From here, I can go to the other places where that information or this image appears. So I could click, for example, on John Lennon. Now I'm going to go into the article about John Lennon. And when I go to images and video, same thing. I can see images, video, and it will tie me back to the main Beatles article as well. But let's take a look at the My Favorites. So this star at the top, if I click on that, it will ask me to log in to add it to my content. If you haven't made a login, notice that it says sign up now, and you'll be asked for a username and a password. Now that I'm logged in, I can add this to my favorites, and I can put it under a new tag or add it to an existing tag. These tags let me divide up my articles, images, videos into projects. So let's select one of my existing tags. I have one that's called Rock and Roll. So this would be great if you've got students doing papers, teachers preparing different lessons, you're doing presentations within the library. Here you can save items right into a favorites and then put them under different categories, different projects. So now notice the star was white before and now it's bolded yellow. What that tells you is you already have saved it. So if you're doing other searching, you don't know if you've already put it in your saved My Content, the star will let you know. And let's look at a different one so you can see one. There's one. So these images, it's all white, so I have not saved that to my Content. Let's look at a couple of other things here. Under our Discover Britannica, the next one we're going to look at is called Compare Countries. This lets students or patrons look at information, facts, data about different countries side by side. Again, I can scroll down through my list or I can start typing, and let's stick with Iceland here. And then we choose a country to compare it to. What it will do is bring up information about population, language, religion, urban population, literacy, things like that. In our Stats tab, there's also an Articles and Media tab. Here I have an article about each country, and notice I can link to the full article. Then I have images and video for each one of these side by side. All I have to do if I want to change a country I'm comparing, say I want to change that and actually compare Iceland to Denmark, I just type that in and it brings up my new country. I'm going to go back out to our main page, and now let's take a look at the children's version. This is appropriate up to 5th grade. Notice I have a feature here, they call it Check It Out for the kids. They also have a daily buzzword, but they just use a definition and you can play the sound, but they don't use how to use it in a sentence, but they do use a vote now so that kids can answer a question and then view results for that. So let's answer this question: which of these animals make the strangest sounds? And since they've got screaming monkeys up here, I'm going to put howler monkey and submit. And then you see how the voting's going with other kids using this resource. Above that, we have our Discover Britannica, like we've seen on the other versions, comparing countries, Tour the USA, World Atlas, articles, images and video, and a new one on the kids version called Animal Kingdom. Let's start with Compare Countries. Like we looked at with the young adult, again we can choose a country, and I'm going to stick with the ones we had just so you can see what it looks like for the kids version. Notice a bit less information, but they also have the articles in media so kids can read about the countries as well as see the flags and the images for it. But notice we have less information here in the children's version. Let's just work around our Discover Britannica icons here. Let's take a look at articles and places. Articles, and we're going to look at places. Notice again, they have fewer topics to choose from. And now we have our subtopics. So enough of winter, let's look at islands. And now under islands, it's giving me a series of articles here on the right-hand side. And I can scroll through those using the little arrows to go up and down here through my articles. And I'm going to select Aruba. In the children's version, they use something called chunking. So they're giving them a small amount of text, and then they can click on the next one and build on that information. They also can use the double clicking on a word for the dictionary, and it will be a more age-appropriate definition. They can also go to the full definition and click on the speaker and hear it pronounced. I can go back to the top and click on Britannica Library for Children to go back to some of my other tools, or again I can use that Research Tools and Materials link at the top. And let's go to our images file here under Media. So now again I can select a category, and this time let's go into Science and Mathematics. And notice I have subtopics again under my Science and Mathematics there on the left, or I can select from my images and video here on the right. So let's look at one of their video clips here.
Different fractions can sometimes describe the same actual amount. For instance, 2/6 equals 1/3. These numbers are equivalent fractions. Fractions that are equivalent.
Notice that you can download this piece and find other places where this video appears, and again get your citation information there at the top. Again, I can go back to Research Tools and Materials at the top left, or back to my main page for my Discover Britannica. The next one we're going to look at is Tour the USA. You'll find that the World Atlas is the same that we saw in both the young adult and adult. Tour the USA is using the same atlas image, this time though looking at the United States. I can click in again, double clicking, or type in Find a Place. On both the World Atlas and our Tour the USA, in addition to using the satellite map and the street view, notice that I have a summary and profile and related here as well, and I can go straight to one of those related article links. The last feature I want to show is Animal Kingdom. Here kids can study the animal world, exploring it by group, by habitat, or the animals A to Z. If I click on A to Z, for example D, what you'll see is they have domestic as well as wild and fossil animals. If I click on Animal Kingdom here, it'll bring me back out, and now I can explore animals by group. For example, my amphibians and reptiles. At the top, I have my article where I can read more about amphibians or more about reptiles. Or I can go into my subtopic here and get a list that matches my search. I can also explore by habitat. Click on that tab, and then I'll click on my habitat. Before I click on a habitat, notice on the right-hand side, I have featured video as well as some related links. So we're looking at habitat and animals. They also talk about endangered species, a biome, are dolphins, fish, or mammals, and some did you knows. Again, those refresh when I come back and forth with my pages. Once I go into a habitat, I have my article about that habitat, as well as, again, the animals that live within that habitat. Each one of these levels at the very top right has a help link. Here you'll find out more about searching, and you'll notice that came up here at the bottom. Also about the different level icons and what encyclopedia it's searching. So whether you're in level 1, level 2, level 3, coordinating with the children, young adults, and reference, you can see that level. And some other content and tools here that might be of help. At the very bottom right, there is some library and library information where you can access some webinars and print material. And speaking of print material, here at the Wyoming State Library, we've been creating a page called Promotional Handouts at WyomingLibraries.org. And if you'll scroll down, you'll see other webinars and database material. But we've pulled together the latest bookmarks for Britannica Library. And here's one with 2 sides. Notice we've filled in the GoWild.net information. You can bring that up and print them out at your site. And there's the second one on the other side. So you can make them back to back or 2 different bookmarks. Other information to help with our databases can be found off of the Wyoming State Library's website. One is the Wild Databases blog, where you'll get more information about the various databases that we have, changes that are happening, and topics. Also on that page is where you can find the webinar archive. This webinar today and others that we do for Database of the Month can be found here on the database webinar page. We're also including those promotional handouts and bookmarks, so when today's webinar goes up, that link to those bookmarks will also be part of that. The other thing that you'll find of help with our databases is here in the middle, Browse Go Wild Resources in LibGuides. Here you'll find some alphabetic links, as well as at the very top left, if you back through and click on Guides, here are research guides to help you with various databases. The Research Guide to Health and Medicine, Biography Resources, for example, where we list all the databases that we have for that topic and the webinars and information that we have to go along with that. So that ends the webinar this morning. If you have any questions, please use the raise your hand or put it down in the chat box. I can unmute you if you have a microphone, or just, again, I'll answer it in chat. Otherwise, please feel free to get hold of me anytime if you've got questions about this or any of our other databases or suggestions for future webinars. Thanks for attending and have a great morning.